Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue dans notre channel qui s'appelle Frenchy with Karen. Welcome back everybody to my channel at Frenchy with Karen, and thank you so much for joining me again at this video. In today's video, we will be discussing a little bit more about the object pronouns, but before we look at the object D and E, if you haven't looked at my previous video yet, be sure to do that as well. And at the same time, if you would like, you can follow me on Instagram, where you'd be getting lots of different updates on this channel as well. So if you haven't done that, be sure to do that as well. You would be able to find a link of my Instagram handle in the description below, so be sure to check that out. Now, before we look into the groups of D and E, as I promised in my last video, I want to talk a little bit more about the group A and B. And this video is going to be relatively short because I want to simplify things a little bit more. I do know that in my previous video, we have talked very intensively about group A, B, and C, but I felt like, we can delve a little bit more but also keeping things more concise, especially for group B and C. Now here's a little revisit of what A, B, and C groups looked like in the object pronoun. Now, there's 4 particular sentences that I want to discuss about, and I think it would be very helpful for you to understand group B and C. Now, when I first started my journey on this object pronoun, I felt it was very difficult, very daunting, and especially very overwhelming because there were so many things that, you had to touch upon, and sometimes it can be very difficult. But I felt like, learning about these pronouns in a more concise way can be very helpful as well. So there are 4 particular sentences that I want us to talk about. For the first sentence, we have Je cherche mon chemin. And this sentence, when we think about it, there is no preposition. There's no preposition a. So when you have a sentence and you want to be able to replace it with a object pronoun, you always want to start off by thinking if there's any preposition called a. If there's no preposition, majority of the time, you want to be able to use your direct object pronouns. And this is why it's time for us to think. After the first step of thinking if it's an indirect or direct, you want to be able to think if you are using the masculine, the feminine object pronoun. And because it's mon chemin, of course, you would be thinking that it is a masculine. And that's absolutely right, because it is a masculine object. And when we are replacing this, we would be using, of course, the article le. And when we are sort of replacing it, you're going to say je le cherche. Now, the second example that I want to touch upon is elle appelle ses parents. And because we have ses parents, it is a plural object, and then we would make use of les. So here we would say elle les appelle. So that is the way that you would particularly be able to use this particular sentence. The third one we have is il obéit à ses patrons. So when we have à ses patrons, it is a preposition, and you would see the preposition à. And because we have the preposition à, you would know that you want to be able to use the indirect pronoun. And of course, after you know that it's indirect, it's time for you to think if it is a masculine, feminine, or plural. And because we know that ses patrons is a plural sort of object, which is why you're going to be able to use the indirect. And when we are sort of replacing it, we're replacing this object with, a pronoun, we're going to use il leur obéit. Now, for the fourth example, il parle à Cindy. And because we know Cindy is a feminine object, and we can see the preposition à, that's why we're going to use il lui parle. And this is how we would construct and know the differences between the direct and the indirect. And I think it is a much more easier way for you to comprehend between these two. I really hope that you found this video very helpful. If so, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with as many people as you think that might find this YouTube video very helpful. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about the channel updates and everything as such, please feel free to follow me on my Instagram handle. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!